What's up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my full card breakdown and predictions for UFC Vegas 27. We have Rob Font going against Cody Garbrandt, a fight that I'm very much looking forward to, and a card that as a whole looks pretty solid. Can't wait to get into it. Can't wait to break it down. Before we get started, there is a big elephant in the room that I need to address. Man, I got smoked. UFC 262, I got smoked. It was the worst my predictions had ever been. Wasn't the worst betting night I've ever had, but it was a terrible night nonetheless. I mean, everything seemed to go wrong. And just something I want to say, I no need to comment and let me know that I had a bad week. I had so many people do that already. I had literally over 20 comments, during the card saying, you suck, your bets suck, I'm purposely trying to give out false information. Like bad weeks happen sometimes, guys. So definitely bouncing back. Can't wait to bounce back. It's not my first losing week. It won't be my last losing week. People are allowed to have losing weeks. And that's kind of why I think there's not many people that last in this game, in this prediction game, because, man, people are ruthless. I mean, I had multiple people come in my Twitter DMs saying things that I really can't repeat on this video, death threats, talking about my family. It was crazy. Luckily enough, I can handle that stuff. And even if I went 0 for 12 on my picks, if I didn't win a bet, I'd still be right back here each and every week. So nothing to worry about there. It's just, man, people can be brutal, but it is what it is. Time to bounce back. Another thing is, when you do bad, it's all you hear. It's all you hear. Even when I go for 10-2 on picks, 11-1 on picks, you won't hear a good job or a nice picks there. Even if you get those 1 or 2 wrong, people will still come on your videos and say something. And nobody even said, hey, good job. Last month you went up about 10 units last month. Nobody said congrats on your good month last month. But man, I got it handed to me last month. And rightfully so. It's just weird that when you do good, you don't get a good job. You don't get a way to go. But when you do bad, when you make one mistake, you get a lot of hate. But luckily, I can handle it. It's been happening ever since I started my channel. So all good. Just want to kind of point that out. No need to comment below and saying, haha, you did bad, all that good stuff. Bad weeks happen. We move on. It's not my first bad week. It's not my last bad week, but I do want to get that out of the way. And I can't wait to bounce back. And here's a decent card to bounce back. I really like the next card as well from a betting perspective, but this one is something I really like. But yeah, we have the first fight of the night here. Oh yeah, before we get started, if you guys can leave a like, subscribe if you have not yet, and just so you guys know, I have a ton of supporters, a ton of great people out there. There's just a select few that are terrible people, to be honest. Some of the messages I've been getting were just crazy, but it is what it is. It happens. But we will start with the first fight of the night. We have Damir Ismagulov going against Rafael Alves. We have Damir Ismagulov is 30 years old, 5'9", 74-inch reach, 22-1 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Rafael Alves, he is 30 years old, 5'8", 68-inch reach, 19-9 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. So Ismagulov has not fought in 1 year and 8 months. I've been hearing rumors that he supposedly got married. He was supposedly hurt, but coming back, and you take a look at this guy, and he is extremely impressive. And we'll take a look at the odds first because he is the biggest favorite on the card and by a pretty decent margin as well. So Damir Ismagulov opened up minus 515. He's currently minus 550, minus 600 on some books. Rafael Alves opened up plus 375, currently plus 425. So yeah, lots of money coming in on the Ismagulov side, even though he's a big favorite, and I definitely can see why. You take a look at Rafael Alves, and he was supposed to fight Pat Sabatini, but the dude didn't just miss 1 weight class. The dude missed by 2 weight classes. I think he almost set a record. It was the first or second most amount of weight missed ever. And of course the fight got canceled, but I was actually on Sabatini in that fight as a pretty sizable underdog. But kind of think, I mean, they're doing Ismagulov a really big favor here, setting him up with Alves. I just think from a stylistic standpoint, they're 2 levels away from each other. I think Ismagulov is a much better fighter by a decent margin here. The layoff is the only concerning thing, but you take a look at Alves. He's very dangerous, especially in that first round, but if you can get him out of that first round, he definitely slows down a ton. The dude's never lost by decision. 9 losses, all of them come by finish, but he hasn't lost in a while. He's looking decent. He's going up a weight class in this fight as well, which I don't like for Alves also, but I'm going to take Ismagulov. You take a look at it, his takedown defense 100% in 3 fights in the UFC. Was able to stuff some takedowns from Thiago Moises, somebody who has shown to be pretty good. Was able to stuff like 3 takedowns. One of the takedowns, he did a nice reversal to get up on top. But yeah, I think his takedown defense is good. His striking's phenomenal. He has a significant strike defense of 69%, which is just phenomenal as well in those 3 fights. The only thing I'll say is he has won all 3 fights in the UFC by decision. I think he's very live for a finish here. I've seen Alves get knocked out 3 times. Seen him get dropped a ton as well. I don't think his chin's great. I don't think his cardio is great. I actually think that Ismagulov can get a finish here. So I'm going to take Ismagulov to win by knockout. Is he warranted of that -600? I personally think so, but he does have to be aware of Alves early in the fight. If Alves can't get a takedown, I think he can have some success. Alves is a black belt in BJJ. It's just Ismagulov's takedown defense is phenomenal. So give me Ismagulov to win by knockout. I think he gets his first finish in the UFC here. All right, Damir Hadovich going against Yancey Medeiros. We have Damir Hadovich. He is 34 years old, 5'9", 70-inch reach, 13-6, 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Yancey Medeiros, he is 33 years old, 5'10", 75.5-inch reach, 15-7 and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. Damir Hadovich opened up -125, is currently -115. And Yancey Medeiros opened up -105. He's currently -105. So, yeah, very interesting fight here. Very close fight as well. We'll kind of get into the stats a little bit. Damir Hadovich averages 2.99 significant strikes per minute with a 46% accuracy and does absorb as well 2.99 with a 66% striking defense. Then you have Medeiros, who is a little bit more high volume, averages 4.05 significant strikes per minute, 35% accuracy, does absorb 5.38 with a negative significant strike differential of -1.33 with a 46% striking defense, which I don't like there. As far as the grappling stats go, this is kind of interesting. I wish Medeiros went for more takedowns because this would be a really good fight to do so, as Hadovich does have a 39% takedown defense. And we have seen Medeiros get a takedown or 2 in his career, just not something he does. He got a takedown against Alex Olieveria. Other than that, yeah, no takedowns for Medeiros, but maybe he can mix in 1 or 2, but I really don't expect that to be part of his game plan here. Interesting fight. I think it's a close fight. I think it does stay standing for the majority of the fight as well. I think a big factor of this fight is going to be that reach advantage for Medeiros. He's going to have a 5.5-inch reach advantage. I also like the output of Medeiros as well. Hadovich, 34 years old. Medeiros is not, the youngest guy in the world either, at 33. I'm going to slightly take Medeiros just to out-volume Hadovich, stay on the outside, but it's going to be a very, very, very close fight. I do think it goes to decision, but I will slightly lean to Medeiros there. Joshua Culibao going against Shah. Culibao is 26 years old, 5'10", 73-inch reach, 8-1 and 1, and 3-1 and 1 in his last 5 fights. Shah is 23 years old, I think. It didn't list his age, but I think he's around the 23 or 24-year-old range. 5'10", 71-inch reach, going to be at a 2-inch height disadvantage and a 2-inch reach disadvantage as well. Record is 19-6 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. So it's interesting with Shah. Another one of these China fighters that you take a look at the record. First of all, he's very young, and second of all, he has a ton of fights. We saw a couple of those on the UFC 261 card, and remember on that card, China went 0-4. I wonder if the run of China losing continues on this card. I do think we have 2 fighters from China on this card as well. It's just kind of hard to judge because I think Shah he's not terrible. I think he has solid wrestling, solid striking. Saw him fight Rong Zhu. Rong Zhu knocked him out pretty early in the first round. It's just kind of hard to gauge where he's at because the level of competition is nothing like a Josh Culibao has been fighting at all. And even then, I'm not all that high on Culibao as well. And it's just weird. You take a look at the line. Culibao opened up -275, currently -250. Shah opened up +215, currently +210. So a little bit of money is actually coming in on the Shah side, which is kind of interesting. I'm going to take Culibao just because he's fought the better competition. Looked really good, actually, against Charles Jourdain in his last fight. That was a draw, I believe. Yeah, it was a draw. I really thought that Culibao won that first round. I actually thought he won the second round. I thought Jourdain won the third round. I didn't think it was a 10-8 or nothing like that, but ended up being a draw, which is really weird. And, I think I had Jourdain in a parlay or something like that, so I was actually happy that it was a draw because I really thought that Culibao did win that fight. The first round was, really clear. He dropped Jourdain. The second round, he outlanded Jourdain 21-16. And then the third round, it was all Jourdain. But, man, I really thought that Culibao could have won that fight. So, good performance there. Definitely bounced back from the fight with Jalen Turner, where I believe he took it on short notice. He got dominated by Jalen Turner, but, man, this is a completely different fight. I'm going to take Josh Culibao to win. I'm going to say by decision, but a knockout wouldn't shock me as well. Shah has been knocked out once before. That one knockout loss was by Rangju. And he has 3 submission losses. Other than that, it's decision losses for Shah. I'm going to take Culibao to win by decision. I think he's fought the better competition. I think he's very well-rounded. And he made a really good account for himself in his last fight against Charles Jourdain. So give me Culibao by decision. All right, Bruno Silva going against Victor Rodriguez. We have Bruno Silva is 31 years old, 5'4", 66-inch reach, 11-5, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Victor Rodriguez, 28 years old, 5'5", 67-inch reach, 7-3, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds. Silva is going to be the second biggest favorite on the card. Opened up -265, currently -335. Rodriguez opened up +205, and he's currently +275. And yeah, really, really impressed with Bruno Silva in his last fight. A lot of people were really counting him out because he lost 3 in a row. But you kind of take a look at who he lost to. He lost to Khalid Taha, got submitted, which that fight got overturned, but still, he got submitted. He lost to David Dvorak, somebody that's a really good prospect, somebody that's fighting on this card. And then he lost to Tagir Ulanbekov in a fight that was very, very close. Like, I played Tagir Ulanbekov, and I was very scared that he might have lost that fight. Like, that fight could have went either way. So made a good account for himself there. And then against JP Buys, he just destroyed him. He knocked him down 3 times. He took him down as well. His striking looked phenomenal. And Silva's like really well-rounded. He's a black belt in BJJ, training at a really good camp in Fight Ready. The striking's there, the wrestling's there, the grappling's there. Just a really well-rounded guy. And then you take a look at Victor Rodriguez, who came into his UFC debut against Adrian Yanez. I believe that was at 135. This is going to be at 125. So he's actually making his first fight ever at 125, which is pretty interesting. But you kind of go through the record of Victor Rodriguez, and I can't trash the Alaskan fight scene that much because we just saw Jordan Wright come out here last week and look really good. But still, he's getting knocked out by some very questionable guys. He's getting submitted by some very questionable guys. He's beating some very questionable guys. And then he goes in and fights somebody, decent, really decent, in Adrian Yanez and gets knocked down that first round. I really think like this is a massive step down, honestly, for Bruno Silva going from Buys to Rodriguez here. Rodriguez is dangerous. He's never seen a 3rd round. He's never seen a decision. And I like Silva here to probably get a finish. I think he can either get takedowns. I think his grappling's on the next level. I think he can even outstrike Rodriguez. Rodriguez's path to victory is probably some type of knockout, which, I mean, it's possible. I've seen Silva rocked a couple times. Silva's been knocked out, but I just think Silva's like a whole level above Victor Rodriguez, and I do think he gets it done probably inside the distance. I'm going to say Bruno Silva wins by 1st round submission. Just a really, really big step down in competition from the guys that Silva has been facing, and I actually think Silva's a really good fighter. It's just he's been fighting some really good guys. So give me Bruno Silva by 1st round sub. All right, Claudio Silva going against Court McGee. We have Claudio Silva is 38 years old, 5'11", 71-inch reach, 14-2, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Court McGee, 36 years old, 5'11", 75.5-inch reach, 19-9, and 1-4 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. There has been a lot of line movement. Court McGee opened up +155, currently -110. Claudio Silva opened up -185, currently -110. So a straight pick 'em here, and I do want to get into the numbers a little bit. So Claudio Silva, he has a really good record, 14-2. He's been fighting forever, it seems like. It's just he rarely ever fights. I remember he took like a 4-year layoff at some point. But yeah, his record's good. It's just he doesn't really fight that often. So Claudio Silva, you look at it, low output, averages about 3.14 significant strikes per minute with a 42% accuracy. Does absorb 3.12, so he does have a significant strike differential of 0.02. With a 43% striking defense, so very hittable in Claudio Silva. Court McGee does average about 5 significant strikes per minute with a 36% accuracy, does absorb 3.94, significant strike differential of 0.96, 61% striking defense. Taking a look at the grappling stats, and this is where I do think is an important aspect of this fight, Claudio Silva does average a really nice 3 takedowns per 15 minutes, 28% accuracy, and Court McGee does average about a takedown and a half. He's not going to go for takedowns here. And Court McGee does have a 63% takedown defense. So digging into it a little bit more, I think this is a pretty good fight for Court McGee. I know it's crazy because, man, does he lose a lot. He has lost his last 1, 2, 3. He's lost his last 3. And then he got a win 4, 5, 6. 6 of his last 8 fights have resulted in a loss. So yes, he loses a lot, but you take a look at Claudio Silva, and man, he's getting up there in age. He's about to be 39 years old. Against James Krause, he just looked pretty terrible. And I remember James Krause got hurt in that fight, and James Krause was still out striking him while I think he hurt his leg or something like that. But it was crazy. Claudio Silva is somebody that looks really good in that first round. He has about 1 round of cardio. We didn't get to see it in the Cole Williams fight because he submitted him in that first round. Remind you, it's Cole Williams. But in that Danny Roberts fight, he did slow down a ton, and it was just the fight IQ of Danny Roberts that really kind of won Claudio Silva that fight. But yeah, Claudio Silva did slow down a ton after that first round of Danny Roberts, and that was in 2019. That was 2 years ago. And then James Krause, he did slow down a lot as the fight went on as well. You take a look at Court McGee. Yes, he's looked pretty bad. He got outstruck by 4 significant strikes against Carlos Condit. It's not that he got outstruck against Carlos Condit. I think that's fine. It's just he had a clear path to victory of taking down Carlos Condit, who had a 42% takedown defense. So this is a completely different fight. I mean, Carlos Condit is no Silva. Carlos Condit, obviously the better striker here. He's going to want to do the opposite. He's going to want to keep this on the feet. I went back and watched that Sean Brady fight, and I was actually surprised because Court McGee did a lot better than I remembered. Brady did destroy him in that first round, knocked him down, outlanded him 44-17. But that second round was really close. McGee outlanded him 38-33. Brady did take him down 2 times, but Brady was not able to control him at all. Court McGee's takedown defense looked really good. His get-up game looked really good. And then in that third round, he actually outlanded Brady by 10 significant strikes. So looking back at that fight, it was pretty close in my opinion. But Brady clearly got that win. And then just taking a look at the rest of the career of Court McGee, yes, he can be taken down, but he's very, very hard to hold down. I think, Sean Strickland held him down, got 2 minutes of control time. But other than that, people have a lot of problems holding down Court McGee. So in this fight, Claudio Silva, for him to win, I think, first of all, I do think Claudio Silva probably wins that first round, but I think he's probably going to need to get a finish because I just don't see him lasting in rounds 2 or rounds 3. I don't see him being able to get down Court McGee in rounds 2 or rounds 3. So I think McGee does have a clear advantage in those second 2 rounds, rounds 2 and rounds 3. And what I like about Court McGee is in 29 fights, he's never been submitted. I think that's a very good sign there. Claudio Silva, 38 years old, about to be 39. The gas tank's not going to be getting any better. The weight cuts aren't going to be getting any easier for him as well. I think if Court McGee survives this first round, this is a really good fight for him. So I'm going to take Court McGee to survive that first round, not get submitted. Could Claudio Silva catch him in something early? Maybe, but even then, I think Claudio Silva is going to have a really hard time, A, taking him down, and an even harder time, B, holding him down. So I think McGee does survive that first round, takes over as the fight goes on, and wins a 29-28 decision, possible late finish for McGee as well. McGee has the much better cardio in this fight, the much better output, the much better striking, but Silva is very dangerous in that first round. But I will take Court McGee for the win. All right, Ben Rothwell, oh my goodness. Ben Rothwell versus Chris Barnett, and this is a very interesting fight here. We have Ben Rothwell, who is towards the end of his career by a decent margin, 39 years old, 6'4", 80-inch reach, 38-13, 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Chris Barnett, 34 years old, 5'9", so he's going to be at a 7 or 8-inch height disadvantage. Not sure on his reach, but I think it's 77. 21-6 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here, and I tweeted this the other day, Ben Rothwell, 2021, probably should never, ever be this much big of a favorite. He opened up minus 245, which, yeah, that's fair. Currently minus 310. It's probably fair, but it's just weird seeing Big Ben at this stage of his career as this big of a favorite. Barnett opened up plus 185, is currently plus 255. So money's coming in on Ben Rothwell, and I probably understand why. Chris Barnett, his last fight was against an 0-0 guy, which is pretty crazy. You take a look through his career, and the competition is not there at all. When he fights somebody, somewhat relevant, he does lose that fight, and I think Ben Rothwell falls into that category of somewhat relevant. He's a UFC fighter, lots of experience, veteran. Yes, he's very old, 39 years old. Yes, he is not look great at all, but I still think he has what it takes to beat Chris Barnett, and he should absolutely finish Chris Barnett here, whether it's a knockout early on, whether it's submission. If Ben Rothwell does choose to go to that ground game, I think he has a significant advantage here. It's just not something Rothwell does all that much. But if the fight does hit the mat, I think it's a pretty easy submission. Barnett does give up his back quite a bit, gives it up quite easily. I got to take Ben Rothwell here. I might be looking at like a inside the distance prop because he really should finish Chris Barnett here. But I'll take Ben Rothwell to win. I'm going to say, I'll say first round knockout by Ben Rothwell. I think he gets him out of here pretty early. Bill Algeo going against Ricardo Ramos. We have Algeo, 31 years old, 6 foot, 73.5-inch reach, 14-3, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Ricardo Ramos, he is 25 years old, 5'9", 72-inch reach, 14-3, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Algeo is going to have a 2-inch height advantage, and Algeo is going to have a 1.5-inch reach advantage as well. We'll take a look at the odds here. We have Bill Algeo opened up -125, currently -120. Ricardo Ramos opened up -105, currently +100. Kind of thought some more money would come in on the Algeo side, just based off the fact that he looked really good against a fan favorite, I guess you could say, in Spike Carlisle. But I think that was more so of Spike Carlisle gassing out in 30 seconds. But yeah, this is a very, very interesting fight here. A very tough fight to call as well. You take a look at Bill Algeo. I don't know. I don't think he's the most skilled fighter in the world. I think if we're talking skill for skill, Ramos is definitely the more skilled fighter. But I do like what he brings to the table. Lots of toughness, lots of volume. In his 3 fights sample, he averages about 7 significant strikes per minute. Does have a 38% accuracy. Does get hit pretty much as well. Does get hit a lot as well. And another thing I don't like about Algeo is he does get taken down a lot. And especially considering this matchup, I don't like that here. On the Contender Series, he was taken down 3 times. Against Ricardo Lamas, he was taken down 5 times. Against Spike Carlisle, he was taken down 4 times. So solid get-up game, but he can be taken down. I think Ramos is the better grappler in this fight. Algeo's not a terrible grappler. He's a black belt himself, but I do think Ramos does have the edge in the grappling. I don't know. It's such a close fight. Like on the feet, I do like the output of Bill Algeo. I think he's going to throw a lot of output, but with all that output, he's hittable himself. But I think Ramos can mix in those takedowns as well, get some top control. I'm going to slightly lean with Ramos. I think it's going to be very, very close. It's such a tough fight to call. It probably should be a pick'em. But I'm going to take Ramos to win by mixing in the takedowns, landing some nice strikes, getting some control time. I don't think he finishes Algeo. Algeo has been submitted twice, but it was so long ago. But I will slightly edge Ramos to mix in those takedowns, get this down to the mat a few times. And I think the striking will be close. But I'm going to take Ramos to win by a pretty close decision. Probably one of the toughest fights to call on the entire card. All right, Jack Hermansson versus Edmond Shabazian. We were supposed to see this fight last week, and it got rescheduled to this week. Not 100% sure why, but it did. We have Hermansson, who is 32 years old, 6'1", 77.5-inch reach, 21-6 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Edmond Shabazian, he is 23 years old, 6'2", 74-inch reach, 11-1 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. And we have Edmond Shabazian opening up a +125 dog, currently +135. Hermansson opening up a -145 favorite, currently -155. So the line kind of staying around where it opened. And yeah, so Shabazian did lose his last fight against Derek Brunson in a fight where he was a pretty big favorite. I know he burnt me personally. I really thought he was going to knock out Brunson, but Brunson was able to take him down 4 times. Landed 88 strikes on Shabazian as well. Was able to get him out of there. They probably should have stopped the fight after that second round, but Brunson finished him in like 26 seconds in the third round, fairly easy there. And I guess that's one concern I have in this fight for Shabazian. I think he's very talented. He's very young. I do think there are improvements to be made, especially around the cardio. But I do want to get into the stats a little bit in this fight as well. So we'll take a look at it. Jack Hermansson does average 5 significant strikes per minute, 44% accuracy, does absorb 3.46 with a significant strike differential of 1.33, 63% striking defense. Edmond Shabazian does average 3.85 significant strikes per minute, 51% striking accuracy, averages 4.31 absorbed, with a significant strike differential of -0.46 with a 49% striking defense. So remind you that a lot of that is from the Derek Brunson fight, but still, and we'll take a look at the grappling stats. Hermansson does average about 2 takedowns per 15 minutes, 34% accuracy, and Shabazian does have a 58% takedown defense. Again, a lot of that is from the Derek Brunson fight. Derek Brunson took him down 4 times, and Darren Stewart took him down once. Darren Stewart attempted 3 takedowns in that fight as well. It's a tough fight to call. I mean, I think that Shabazian is going to be very live in that first round. It's just the question marks of what happens if this fight goes out of the first round. He's finished 9 of his 11 wins in the first round, or even maybe 10 of his wins in the first round. Tons of knockout wins, 100% finish rate or 91% finish rate for Shabazian. He did win that one decision against Darren Stewart, but the guy's a finisher. The guy slows down as the fight goes on. We've seen it. When he does get extended, he does slow down. So if Hermansson's able to survive that first round, I think he's very, very, very live for a win here. He probably needs to go to those takedowns early and often, get takedowns in that first round, kind of grind them out. Don't make too many mistakes. Don't take too many chances. Get to that second round, and I do think the finish will come for Jack Hermansson. It's just Edmond Shabazian's so dangerous in that first round. Hermansson, maybe a little bit on the chinny side. We saw him hurt bad in the Marvin Vettori fight. We saw him knocked out a few times as well. Tough fight to call. I'm going to take Jack Hermansson to survive that first round, get takedowns, and eventually get a second, maybe early third round finish. I think Hermansson, his takedowns are pretty solid. His ground game is really good. Really good. We know there's grappling, ground and pound as well. More experienced fighter. Weird fight. I thought they might want to, get Shabazian a nice rebound fight, which maybe this could be it, but it's a tough task. Jack Hermansson's no slouch at all. I will take Jack Hermansson to win. Would I be shocked if he got knocked down in the first round? No, I wouldn't. But I do think he has the tools to win this fight. I'm going to say Jack Hermansson wins by second round submission. All right, David Dvorak going against Raulian Paiva. David Dvorak, 28 years old, 5'5", 68-inch reach, 19-3, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. This guy's on a really big win streak. Paiva, he is 25 years old, 5'8", 69.5-inch reach, 20-3, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here, and Dvorak opened up as a -205 favorite. Goodness. Now -145. Paiva opened up +165, currently +125. So lots of money coming in on the Paiva side. I definitely agree with that. I think the line should be a little bit closer than the -205 opener, which is pretty crazy. But we'll take a look at the stats a little bit. Dvorak does average 4.5 significant strikes per minute, as does Paiva. Dvorak has that 48% accuracy, and Paiva has 43%. Dvorak does absorb only 3.17 compared to Paiva's 4.89. Dvorak has a significant strike differential of +1.3, and Paiva is a -0.43, which is something you don't like to see, and Paiva does have a 51% striking defense. So his striking defense isn't great. He is a little bit hittable, and I thought it was really weird in Paiva's last fight. Man, I really thought that he lost that fight. Like, I'll take a look at the numbers here in a second, but yeah, he got outlanded against Zhalgas Zhumagulov. He got outlanded 73-56 in total strikes, 66-52 in significant strikes. In the first round, he did outland Zhalgas 21-19. Second round, Zhalgas did outland him 27-16, and then in the third round, Zhalgas did outland him 20-15. And, Zhalgas mixed in 2 takedowns as well. So I just really thought that Zhalgas Zhumagulov did win that fight. And there's a lot of people really crying robbery. But, yeah, I'm very impressed with David Dvorak. I think his striking is phenomenal. Came in here, got a really good win against Bruno Silva, somebody we talked about, somebody that we thought maybe he's not that great. But I think Silva's pretty good. And then got a nice win over Jordan Espinoza, who's no slouch in his own right. I'm going to take Dvorak here. I think he's going to land the more strikes. I think he's very high output. He's the more dangerous fighter as well. If there's a finish in this fight, it's going to be coming from Dvorak. Dvorak does have a 79% finish rate compared to Paiva's 35%. I just think he lands the more strikes. I see this staying standing. I don't really see either guy getting taken down. Both guys have very good takedown defenses. We haven't seen Dvorak go for takedowns yet. Maybe this could be the fight because on the regional scene, I did see him have some solid wrestling, solid takedowns, so it could be something to add in here. But I do think Dvorak does outland him throughout 3 rounds, lands the harder shots. So I'll take Dvorak to win by decision. Give me Dvorak by decision. The line, if it comes down a little bit more, I'll have some interest, but this really could be somewhat of a close fight. All right, Felicia Spencer going against Norma Dumont. We have Spencer, who is 30 years old, 5'6", 68-inch reach, 8-2 and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Norma Dumont, 30 years old, 5'7", 67-inch reach, 5-1. And 4-1 in her last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here, and Spencer opened at minus 215, currently minus 160. Norma Dumont opened up plus 170, currently plus 140. So, yeah, taking a look at Spencer here, I mean, she's fought, I mean, it's not arguable, but the better level of competition by a mile. She fought Amanda Nunes, got dominated all 5 rounds pretty clearly. Amanda Nunes outlanded her 124-42. Nunes took her down 6 times. She got dominated by Cyborg in 3 rounds, got outlanded 122-38. So in those fights, what it showed me was, she's very tough. She's very tough. Like Nunes and Cyborg, some of the best finishers in women's MMA, she was able to last 8 total rounds with them, which was very impressive in its own right. But you kind of take a look at her skill set, and she's not the best striker. I think Dumont's going to have the striking advantage here, but her grappling's really good. I believe she's a black belt in BJJ, if I'm not mistaken. Her wrestling's solid. It shows on the stats that she has a 10% accuracy, but that's because she fought Nunes and Cyborg. So, I mean, we can't really look into the numbers at all on this fight because of that reason only. But she was able to take down Zara Farron, which, not impressive at all, but still she's able to do so, get a ground and pound victory there in that first round. Was able to submit Megan Anderson in that first round as well. So her grappling's really good. Her takedowns are really solid. The problem for me is there are just so many unknowns about Norma Dumont. And I came in with that mindset against Ashley Evans-Smith in their last fight where we don't know much about Norma Dumont. She only has, 6 fights now. You go through the tape and there's not much info to go off of. I've never seen her get taken down, or takedown defense from what I've seen looks solid. I've never seen her offer back. So kind of, doing a little bit of a guessing game here, thinking maybe Spencer does get her down. If she does, she probably does have success. But, Dumont's grappling doesn't look terrible. She is a brown belt in BJJ. I just think Spencer is a level above in the grappling. It's just we haven't really seen Dumont taken down or off her back, so I really don't know. So kind of a guess here. I do think Spencer does get her down. I do think she works that ground and pound. I don't know if she submits Dumont. Maybe she can finish her as the fight goes on. Dumont's gas tank doesn't look all that great. So maybe a Spencer late finish is possible. It's just I have concerns what happens if Dumont does stuff the takedowns, because then it could get pretty ugly, because I don't think Spencer's striking is all that great. But Spencer has fought the better level of competition by a mile, and it's really not even close. I do think she gets takedowns, but like I said, there's not really much info to work off of. Not just so much limited tape on Dumont, limited fights to look at. But I will side with the experience of Spencer and the grappling of Spencer to get it done. I'm going to say by decision. All right, Justin Tafa versus Jared Vanderaa, a fight that I guess I'm looking forward to a little bit. Tafa, 27 years old, 6 foot, 74-inch reach, 4-2 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Jared Vanderaa, 29 years old, 6'4", 80-inch reach, 11-5 and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. So Vanderaa is actually going to be 4 inches taller and have a 6-inch reach advantage. But yeah, interesting fight, especially considering the line here. Tafa opened up minus 185, currently minus 185. Vanderaa opened up plus 155, currently plus 160. I hope nobody is betting Tafa as this big of a favorite. But I think an interesting aspect of this fight is, well, first of all, you have to give the advantage on the feet to Tafa. Vanderaa's striking is pretty terrible. He's very slow. He's hittable as well. I think if this stays standing for long, Tafa probably does knock him out. But I think an interesting aspect of this fight is going to be the ground games of both guys. Vanderaa, believe it or not, I think he's a black belt. He has a lot of submissions on his record. Shows some solid wrestling as well. And then you take a look at Tafa. He hasn't really had to face any takedowns in the UFC yet. But you take a look at some of his fights on the regional scene, and I saw him get reversed. I saw him get taken down, and Tafa has absolutely nothing to offer on his back. So if Vanderaa can get takedowns in this fight, I think he has a very, very good chance to finish this fight. Vanderaa has really good ground and pound, like I said, a good submission game as well. And Tafa just looks like a fish out of water on his back. So what it comes down to me is this is like a striker versus grappler. Vanderaa probably would be wise for him to not strike with Tafa. At that point, I do think he gets knocked out. But if Vanderaa can get this fight down to the mat, I think he can really win this fight. I'm going to pick the dog here in Vanderaa to get those takedowns, to get that ground and pound victory. I just think he's another level on the mat. I just don't know if it gets there in time before he does get knocked out. Somebody's going to sleep in this fight. It probably does end early. Probably does end within that first minute or first round and a half. I find it hard to see this getting extended. Both guys, crazy finish rates. Tafa 100%, Vanderaa 91%. But I'm going to take the dog here for Vanderaa to get it done by ground and pound victory in first round. All right, co-main event. of the evening, we have Jan going against Carla Esparza. Jan is 31 years old, 5'5", 63-inch reach, 13-1 and 5-0 in her last 5 fights. Carla Esparza, 33 years old, 5'1", 63-inch reach, 17-1 and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here, and crazy line movement on this one. So we have Jan opening up -195. Currently -125, and Carla Esparza opening up +160, currently +105. So tons and tons of line movement on this one. So we'll get into the stats a little bit and kind of break down the fight. So Jan does average 6.42 significant strikes per minute compared to Esparza's 2.29. So that's almost triple the significant strikes, both 42% accuracies. Jan does have a significant strike differential of 2.79. Esparza's is negative 0.56 with a 53% striking defense. Jan with that 63% striking defense. So getting into the wrestling stats, the grappling stats. Esparza, very good wrestler, does average 3.5 takedowns per 15 minutes, 35% accuracy, 48% takedown defense herself. Jan with that 75% takedown defense. And that's what it kind of comes down to. This fight is going to be very close. It's going to be one of those fights where it's going to be how do the judges score it. I mean, Esparza's going to get takedowns. She's going to do nothing with those takedowns. And you see it right there. She averages 2.29 significant strikes per minute. She gets these takedowns. She does absolutely no damage. She does absolutely nothing. Jan is going to land the more strikes by a really significant margin. She's going to do the more damage. It's going to be up to what do the judges score more. Are they going to score the 3 minutes of control time of Esparza in a round? Or are they going to score the 2 minutes of striking of Jan? And it seems like as of late, they're scoring more of the striking. So for that reason, I'll go with Jan, but man, you just don't know with these judges. Like, Jan probably does win the fight. She definitely outstrikes Esparza. She probably does get taken down 3 times. Like, this fight is really as close as you can get. I'll side with Jan because I do think she's going to, win the fight, but Esparza is definitely going to get takedowns and make this close. I'm going to wait and see where the line goes. Like, Jan, if she becomes an underdog, I'll definitely take a shot, but really probably should stay far away from this fight as possible. It can go either way. We don't know what the judges. It's going to be a very close fight as well. Are they going to favor the wrestling of Esparza, the control time, doing nothing with those takedowns? Are they going to favor the striking with Jan, the damage, all the strikes? We don't know. We don't know what the judges are thinking, but I'm going to side with Jan to get it done by a very close decision. Interesting fight. Very interesting fight. All right, main event, we have Cody Garbrandt versus Rob Font. Before we get into it, if you guys can please leave a like on the video, that would help out a ton. Like I always say, one small like does go a long way. Tune into the live stream 5 o'clock or 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, Friday, and then 1 hour prior to the prelims on Saturday. But we have a really good main event here. Rob Font, Cody Garbrandt. Font, 33 years old, 33 years old, 5'8", 71.5-inch reach, 18-4, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Cody Garbrandt, 29 years old, 5'8", 65.5-inch reach, 12-3, 2-3 in his last 5 fights. So I think that's huge. Rob Font is going to have a 6-inch reach advantage. That is huge, especially in a fight that is primarily going to be striking. And we'll take a look at the stats, as I do think they're pretty important, especially in this fight. Rob Font, tons of volume, does land 5.21 significant strikes per minute, 42% accuracy, absorbs 3.83 with a significant strike differential of 1.38, 62% strike and defense. Phenomenal numbers for Rob Font. Cody Garbrandt, a little bit more or less output, but this guy throws with some heat. 3.35 significant strikes per minute, 37% accuracy, does absorb 3.33 with a significant strike differential of 0.02, 65% strike and defense. Not going to touch on the wrestling grappling stats that much. Cody Garbrandt, phenomenal takedown defense. I think it'd be wise for Font to not even really worry about taking Cody down. If he does take him down, he's not going to hold him down. On the flip side, I thought this could be kind of interesting. Cody Garbrandt maybe going for takedowns. It's just, you go through his career, it's not something he does. And even when he does get takedowns, he's not really getting any control time with it. Font, terrible 48% takedown defense, but he has been working on it. He has been working on that get-up game. The get-up game's on point, so primarily I do think this does stay standing. So getting into the finish stats, Rob Font, 66% finish rate, 44% by knockout. About half his fights that he's won are about by knockout there. Cody Garbrandt, 83% finish rate, 83% all by knockout. Rob Font, in his 4 losses, he has lost by decision 3 times, and he's lost by submission once. Cody Garbrandt, in his 3 losses, he's lost by knockout all 3 times, and I think that is going to be the big factor of this fight. I said it earlier in the Discord, like, I just don't think Cody Garbrandt's chin can last 5 rounds against a hard hitter in Rob Font. But, you know, Cody looked fantastic in his last fight and all, but this is a completely different fighter. And he looked good against the Sun Sal. You go back in that fight, he outlanded him 19-17. He landed 19 significant strikes in 9 minutes and 59 seconds of fight time. Like, that's so low volume. Like, Font's going to push a way harder pace than that. Sun Sal landed only 9 or 17. I don't think that fight style is going to work against a guy like Rob Font. I think Rob Font's going to invite a war, and Cody Garbrandt tends to get into these wars, and when he does, his chin he doesn't have the chin to back it up. He gets caught, he gets knocked out. He's been dropped several times throughout his career. He's been knocked out 3 times by Pedro Munoz and TJ Dillashaw twice, and Font's a hard hitter himself, and Font's been looking pretty good. I think he's made a ton of improvements. Yes, he is 33 years old, but I think this is the best Rob Font we've seen in his entire career. So what's big for me is going to be the output. Rob Font averaging a lot more significant strikes per minute than Cody Garbrandt, 5.21 compared to 3.33. I think the 6-inch reach advantage for Rob Font's huge as well, a big factor in this fight. I think the smaller cage does favor Rob Font as well. Cody Garbrandt's going to want to stay on the outside. He's going to want to not get touched, because if he does, he probably goes down at some point. And then the other factor is going to be the chin. One guy's durable. One guy has never been knocked out in 22 fights. And then Cody Garbrandt's been knocked out in 15 fights, or knocked out 3 times in 15 fights. So for all those factors, I do like Rob Font to get it done. I like him to get it done by knockout. I don't know if I went over the line yet, but it's a straight pick 'em right now. Rob Font actually opened up as a plus 110 dog, currently minus 110. Garbrandt opened up minus 140, currently minus 110. So don't know where the line's going to go out. I know Cody Garbrandt's a fan favorite, but seems like a really, really good fight for Rob Font. I think someone's getting knocked out, and I'm just going to take the durable guy, the guy that's never been knocked out, rather than the guy that's been knocked out 3 times. But would I be shocked if Garbrandt knocked him out? Maybe. Not really. I mean, Garbrandt is one of the hardest hitters in the division. It's just Font has some solid durability to back it up where Cody does not. So give me Rob Font for the win, but should be a really fun fight for as long as it lasts. All right, guys, that's about it. If you guys can please leave a like. Also subscribe if you have not yet. Would very, very appreciate it. Tune in to the live stream Friday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Saturday, 1 hour prior to the fights. Looking to bounce back this week. Have a couple plays already. Tell you what, it's not going to be as bad as last week, man. That was terrible. But yeah, shout out to all my supporters week in and week out. Know there's a lot of you guys, but you know the bad ones. Shout out to them too. But man, it was crazy Saturday. I got destroyed. I got in the DMs, Instagram, Twitter, you name it. It was crazy. But yeah, definitely looking to bounce back. Bad nights happen, but it's how you bounce back for them. I'll be here week in and week out, putting in the work, and hopefully getting some good results on this card. So good luck, guys, for UFC Vegas 27. Let's make some money. Talk to you guys soon.